probably heard this before. This is the intro to REM's Everybody Hurts, but it's really just a beautiful arpeggio or arpeggiated chord pattern, or as I prefer to call it, single string chord picking pattern. But what does that mean? So if you've seen my previous video on this type of playing, this single string picking pattern playing, then you'll probably know what I'm talking about. But this time we're going to do it in a nice waltzy feel, a kind of a 3/4 time signature to this. If you haven't seen that previous video, check it out, but after this video. So in this guitar tutorial for beginners, we're going to look at a few things. First, we're going to look at what single string chord picking is. We'll also look at the pattern that you're going to play and the strings you'll pick and how you'll pick them. Thirdly, I'll give you a few chord progressions that you can use to practice this single string picking pattern. And then I'm going to show you a great little way to link the G chord to the E minor chord, which is something you might have noticed during the demo at the beginning of this guitar tutorial. The chords that you heard at the beginning of this tutorial were just D and G, two very, very common beginner guitar chords. So we're going to look now at the D chord and how we play this picking pattern. So this waltzy time feel is like this. It's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Although for REM's intro, it's actually in something called 6/8 time. And I've got to be honest, I had to look that up. And all that means is that you will be playing 6 beats in a bar, as opposed to the usual 4/4 time, you know, where you play 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's kind of how it goes. And this arpeggio style of chord playing, or arpeggiated style of chord playing, basically means that you'll just be playing individual strings of a chord, but you won't be changing anything on your fretting hand. All you're doing is a particular pattern with your strumming hand. So the chord, you just hold that and let this hand do all the work. So what you're doing with this picking pattern, and we're going to use the D major chord, as I said, and the pattern is like this. You will play 3 down picks followed by 3 up picks. I'm sure you're wondering, what's he talking about? Well, let's look at that right this moment. So what you start with is a down pick, and you'll start with the lowest string that you can play on the chord. Now for the D major chord, and you see it in the diagram here, the lowest string that you can pick or you can play is the 4th string, which is the D string. And that's kind of like the bass note of this chord. So we'll start on that. And as I mentioned before, you're playing 3 down. And so the 3 that you were playing will be the D string, the G string, and the B string. So the 4th string, 3rd string, and 2nd string. D, G, and B. Those are the first 3 strings that you'll pick. And that's basically the first half of the bar. So it'll sound like this. I'll just play that particular part. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, D, G, B, D, G, B. For the second half of the bar, beats 4, 5, and 6, we're now going to be playing upstrokes. Okay, so we went downstrokes with 1, 2, 3. For 4, 5, 6, it's up. And we'll be starting on the highest string that you can play, which is this one here, the 1st string. It'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, E, B, G, E, B, G, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, E, B, G. And with all of the chords that we're going to look at in this tutorial, all of the 4th, 5th, and 6th beats will all be playing the same strings. They'll all be playing the top E string, the B string, and the G string. However, for the down beats, the 1, 2, 3 part, we'll be playing different strings. So let's look at that now. So what about those other chords and the picking? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to group the chords and we're going to put them into 3 groups, and we're going to look at both major chords and minor chords, but we're only going to be looking at the open chords. No bar chords or anything like that. So you can see here we've got 3 chords. These are our first set, and these are 6-string chords: G, E and E minor. And we call them 6-string chords because you play all 6 strings. So if we look at this G chord, there's the position, and we're starting here, and it'll just go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that's the first half of the bar. Now if we look at the E major chord, there's E major, playing exactly the same strings again. 6, 5 and 4, E, A and D. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then for E minor, well, that's a great little change. Just lift that finger off, and then you do exactly the same again. But it doesn't change the sound. Whether you've got the finger on or you've got the finger off, it doesn't change because you're only playing those first 3 strings. 3 5-string chords: A, A minor and C. And the lowest note that you're going to play is the A string, the 5th string. With the A major chord and the A minor chord, you'll have a sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And whether you're playing A or A minor, it actually makes no difference to the sound of this, because you know you're not actually playing the B string. So you're only playing 5, 4 and 3, and those fingers don't actually change. With the C major chord, the lowest string you're playing is the 5th string, but this time you've got your 3rd finger on that string at the 3rd fret, so it will sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 4-string chords, we've got D that we've already seen, and then we've got F and D minor. So the F chord, usually quite a tricky chord for beginners because of that little bar here, that mini bar. I could do with a mini bar right now. And what we've got is you'll be playing on the D string, which is the lowest note that you can play in this chord, and we're using I would say probably the simplest version of the F and the best sounding of the simplest versions. And so we're starting on the D string, which is there, and then we'll do D, G, B, D, G, B, D, G, B, D, G, B. And then the D minor chord, I play it like this here with the 4th finger here. Some people play it with the 3rd, but me, I use the 4th. But as for this picking, it's the same pattern: 4th string, 3rd string and 2nd string, all with that down pick. So the pattern is the same: 3 downstrokes followed by 3 upstrokes, but you have to be careful with the downstrokes depending on the chord, whether it's a 6th string chord, a 5-string chord or a 4-string chord. But the upstrokes will always be the same. They'll always be on the open E, the B string and the G string. If you're finding this beginner's guitar tutorial helpful, then hit that like button and to help it spread to other beginner guitarists. Thanks. I'm going to show you a nice way to get from the G major chord to the E minor chord in a moment. But first I want to give you a few practice chord progressions that you can use when you finish this video. So on the screen now is practice progression number 1, and all you're using is A, D and E. But watch out, at the end there's kind of 1 bar of D followed by 1 bar of A. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Practice chord progression 2, D, G and A, is very similar to the first progression where there is 1 bar of G followed by 1 bar of D at the end. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Using a few more chords this time, we've got 4 chords. We've got G, E minor, C and D, and this is known as a kind of a turnaround progression and was really common in songs from the 50s and the 60s, and I think something like Unchained Melody uses this progression. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This next chord progression is very similar to number 3. We have C followed by A minor followed by F and G. Another very common chord progression from the old rock and roll days. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This next one uses C, A minor, D minor and G, and I really love the sound of this particular progression. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And this progression starts on a minor chord. It starts on the A minor chord, uses D, G and E minor, and has a slightly different ending, as you can see from the chord pattern up on the screen. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So this kind of arpeggiated chord playing, this single string chord picking pattern, basically means you hold a chord down and then you pick individual strings from the chord. Now your fretting hand doesn't change. You don't do anything flash around here. It stays the same, but it's this one that is doing all the hard work. Your picking hand is doing all the hard work. This is also something that's going to help you gain control over your picking hand as well. You know, one of the things with strumming is that you're just doing this, whereas with this single string pattern, you've got to be a little bit more careful about what you are playing. You've got to be making sure that you are getting the right strings. That's the thing, you want to get the right strings with the right chord. But if you practice this a few minutes every day, I can guarantee you'll get better slowly over time. Now let's look at going from G to E minor. So in that song everybody heard, there's a part where it goes from G to E minor after it's played D and G a few times, and the G to the E minor bit has this really beautiful, but it's a very simple little linking pattern. So if you've got the G chord, what you're going to do is you're going to play 1, 2, 3. You're not going to do for 4, 5 and 6. What you're actually going to do now is you're going to take this finger off, take your third finger off, if that's how you play it, and then put your first finger on the second fret of the low E string, and then you'll play 4, 5, 6. Don't change the rest of the chord, don't do anything else to the chord, keep it as it is. So I'm going like this, oops, bit of buzz, and you can start to hear that descending, little descending sequence. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you go to the E minor chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you can play that. So once again the G chord, you hear that descending sequence. It's pretty nice. Now if you're playing G like this, for me I think it'll be a bit difficult, a bit more difficult, because you will go 1, 2, 3, you put your first finger there and your second finger will go to where your first finger was. So like this. So, but it's definitely doable if you practice it. Why not consider subscribing to this channel if you've got value out of this, or check out this video here with more tutorials just like this particular one. Thanks for joining me today. Happy strumming.